All right, and welcome. This is the 11th 11th episode of the Dead Soon podcast. This is my first episode that I have an in-person guest, very distinguished guest. And yeah, this is my first episode of the new year. We're recording this on the 1st of January, so this will be the beginning of hopefully a bunch of episodes this year, and hopefully a bunch of interviews. So, without further ado, if my guest could introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Robby McCormick. I am Trevor's brother, and thank you for having me, Trevor.
Of course, this is the most highly requested guest. This is a big episode. First in-person interview. Very big stuff. I'm using some of the new gear that I got for Christmas, which is already so much better than my old setup, especially the one where I had to interview my girlfriend and we were using the same one mic. So this will be a lot better, hopefully. But obviously, as I go, I'll try to make the quality a little bit better. But yeah, so how about Robby? You start with what do you do for a living? Just generally for anyone who doesn't know you.
Hi, for a living, I resell sneakers, sports equipment, and basically I go to stores like Burlington, Marshalls, Nike outlets, etc., sometimes online, and then I find good deals and then flip them. A lot of cleats, mainly cleats and shoes. And then I also have over the last couple of years started to flip some sports cards more cuz I'm very into sports, so it's easy for me to know which players I think is going to be good, and um so I've gotten to that. And then I also am a um part owner of a Discord group called Heat Seekers, which we are now in our fourth year, and so that is another one.
Yeah, and then just to, in case people don't know what Discord group means, well, I can at least give the base level. Discord is a lot of people use it for to just talk to friends, but you guys use it as a sort of whenever someone asks me what it is, I describe it as a kind of like a consulting, like a small business consulting thing. I don't know exactly how you guys define it, but like a small business consulting kind of company. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and yeah, definitely part of it is definitely that because we help people with their reselling businesses, and then also we have people posting let's say this shoe's on sale on Nike. We'll send a link, and then that's part of the things we do. We have a guy who posts daily links, also in store deals, as they come out randomly, Burlington might be getting these certain shoes in, and then we tell them, all right, guys, you got to get out there and look for these because they're going for a good amount. Or we have also site monitors that will show when something restocks on Nike, and sneaker release info and stuff like that. But
So basically, yeah, so building, you guys have a community that people are paying a monthly subscription into to gain access to stuff like that. And then as long as they're vigilant and paying attention, your guys' goal is that they'll make that money back very easily as long as they're paying attention. Like the money that they're paying for the subscription, they should make back pretty easily just by literally sometimes it'll just be clicking a link at the right time and being and paying attention, but then also going to stores and stuff like that. Um and then also important fact, Robby is also a full-time fantasy football manager of multiple teams. He led me to the championship as the coach of my organization last year for my league. And we're looking like it might be another win. It's a little bit closer this year. Um, but yeah, how many fantasy football teams are you managing this season? Yeah.
so currently, I am managing one dynasty team. I managed I believe, five other regular teams, and then I helped coach Trevor's team, and I also helped coach our cousin Danny's team,
Yep.
and he's also won his championship. So that's all we do out here. We win
Yep. It's a
championships.
success rate. I think this is something that you could turn into a business. It could be they give you X amount from their prize and then you just coach their team. I think it's a good deal. But yeah, so I guess we'll start. This we're not really sure how long this episode will be. I have a decent amount of questions, so we'll just run through stuff. Gonna start with like basic, more fun, easy stuff, and then just kind of move along through random different topics. So we're gonna start like where you're comfortable. My first question is LeBron or Michael Jordan.
Oh, of course, LeBron James.
Okay, that one I did know the answer to, but I wanna you to explain why, because I think obviously you are a big LeBron fan, but there's mixed opinions, differing opinions, generational differing opinions. So let's hear it.
So with LeBron, I think it just goes to his longevity. He's been so good for such a long time, and his all-around game has translated through the different eras. Like he played in the 2000s, dominated in 2010s, even in the 2020s, where he's in the older part of his career, but he's still averaging 24, 25 a game in these seasons, and brought home a title to three different teams, has MVPs, four MVPs, final MVPs on three different teams. So he's brought three separate teams to a championship, and the league kind of goes like where he goes. Like the East was weak when he was there, quote unquote, but then it got strong once he left because he was just dominating it, and a lot of stars probably also didn't want to be in the same conference as him, but and just like how dominant he was getting to as many championships as he is. Like even if though he lost, he has a 4-6 finals record. He still made it to 10 championships. This is a pretty ridiculous feat.
Mm-hmm. And then if I was to play like devil's advocate in that, so I think most people like you've obviously seen these debates. What do you like? What's the most common argument if you had to be arguing Michael Jordan? I feel like it would be winning all the championships that he was in is a big one. But what else? What like if you had to defend the other side, what would you say?
The other thing to say is Michael Jordan has the Defensive Player of the Year award, but the thing is LeBron also probably should have, because the year he was first team All NBA, he became in second in voting. A guy, Marc Gasol, who was also a very good defender, but LeBron probably deserved it that year, and Marc Gasol only made third team. And then another thing for MJ, like you'd say the 6-0, you'd say the MVPs, and like how good his teams were, but it's all like a different era, like how good of a scorer he was also.
And so do you think it's a close debate still, like, or do you think it's not as close as people think it is? Because I do think a lot of the time, like I said, it's very generational, and it's like you grew up watching LeBron, so you're obviously going to prefer that, where someone who grew up watching Michael Jordan is going to prefer that. It does obviously play a role, and that's why obviously it is an opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's not far. Like it's definitely a very close debate. It's like it's who you prefer. I mean, in my vision, I feel like just how good LeBron has been for such a long time. Like I feel like that is what differentiates it, and like his all-around game, like how good he is passing, shooting, defending, like, and how he's taken his game to a different level and kind of changed things, adapted as the time has gone on. So I think it's close, and obviously it's like you're gonna go with who you grew up watching most of the time. Like there's obviously some differences, but I think also competition only goes up as time goes on. Like there will probably be a guy who's better than LeBron one day. Like it's only natural how things go.
Yeah, I mean, like in basically every sport, there's always, it seems like just people keep getting better. Like that's kind of just how it goes. But yeah, so I mean, it's obviously it's interesting, and it's we do obviously LeBron is it's not like it's like a guy that you see every generation. Like it's like a once in many. It's like
Definitely.
People who have gotten to watch Michael Jordan and LeBron, and like it's just I feel like we're in the luckiest like generation of sports. Even like seeing like even like us, like we grew up watching like Messi. We got to see, obviously we didn't like Tom Brady, but we got to see him we got to see all these phenomenal athletes. Like we didn't watch golf, but Tiger Woods in this era, like so many of the greatest athletes of all time are in this current era, which is pretty crazy. And it makes you excited because you're like, if things keep going this way, they're just going to be better people and better people.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like we're in an era like we're seeing truly like so many special athletes. Like the things guys can do like athletically just keep going up and up with technology, with everything that changes. Like you see, like for example, like the NFL, you have dudes that are running like 4.40s at that are playing defensive end at 6'5", 250. Like it's ridiculous. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many more freak athletes in this generation. Like it's just gonna keep going up and up and up in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's also like a lot of these athletes probably already existed, but now there's more ways for them to like get scholarships and get through the right path to actually end up at these places. Because like I don't know, like 60 years ago it was a lot harder. Just even where the country was, it was a lot harder for athletes to do that, and so it's obviously good. But so I do trust you, and I do support your decision of LeBron over Michael Jordan. I trust your sports opinions more than anyone, so I like that one. My next one, I think this is going to be a harder question, but you actually talked about this before we started. What do the New York Giants need to do if they want to win the Super Bowl in the next 3 to 5 seasons?
Okay. So what the New York Giants have to do, there's a lot of things they definitely have to do, but one is get their franchise quarterback, and they can't miss because they have to surround him with a great supporting cast of linemen, and we already have one number one receiver. We ideally in the next couple seasons we add a number two, maybe a number three. Like I like some of our supporting guys, but it could always get better. And ideally, our run defense was very porous this year, so we need to add some more there. But we do have some pieces that are great. Like we have Dexter Lawrence, one of the best defensive players in the league. Malik Neighbors, one of the best young receivers, who's going to be entering top 10 conversations very soon and possibly higher, because he's at 1,100 yards this season already with 4 quarterbacks who are played some very bad football.
So if you were like the GM, or I don't know, is football GM still?
Yeah.
Okay. What would be like the biggest decisions that you would have to make? So obviously one is getting a quarterback, hopefully in this upcoming draft. We'll after watching the game this past weekend, it's looking a little bit shaky because they won the game that they weren't supposed to win. But like what are the key things? So obviously they need a quarterback. If you're getting like a couple key people to sign, like, or not specific names, but like what are the specific pieces that are needed?
So it also starts with the head coach. I am a fan of Dable. I think he's a very good coach, and I'm impressed what he did, especially how he got Daniel Jones paid all that money because he schemed up such a great offense, despite us hitting like 20 plus air yard passes that season. He still cooked a great Daniel Jones led offense, and I really want to see what he can do with a good quarterback because I think he really is a good coach, and I believe in him. Ideally, we bring in just a couple more vets maybe to help the locker room. No one crazy expensive because the way to build a team isn't really through free agency unless you're adding the last couple pieces to a team, like the Rams a couple years ago when they went all in, or the Bucks with Brady. You have to build through the draft, and I really like the draft class we just had. The issue for the Giants for a long time has been the offensive line, so we definitely have to hit there. Like we have a core piece at left tackle, Andrew Thomas at least, and I like some of our other guys, but we definitely need some stronger pieces there, and to keep just building the defense through the draft and keep adding guys.
And do you think this is a genuine possibility of the Giants winning the Super Bowl in the next 3 to 5 years? Because obviously it would be extremely challenging from the spot they're in now, and obviously as a fan you want to say yes. How possible do you think it is?
Anything is possible if you get your franchise quarterback. That's
Okay.
all. That's what I'll say. If our guy ends up being Shedeur Sanders or Cameron Ward, the possibilities, if they end up being what they could be, the possibilities are endless. Because if you have a guy on a rookie deal and just keep drafting well around him, then once you have a quarterback, like you see with Washington, they were terrible before this year. They got Jaden Daniels, and all of a sudden, they were projected to be very bad. He's transformed them into a great team, and everything can change after that. So it all depends on that. I think it's always possible. Like, you can never say never. The 2 seasons we won the Super Bowl, we were both times heavy underdogs, 9-7 and 10-6 in 07. So you never know. Anything can happen in the playoffs. I think if we build this out correctly, there's definitely a good possibility.
Okay. But definitely quarterback is the big one. That's what we're hoping for this summer. Hopefully good things happen, and hopefully whoever they end up with is good. Then my next one is, so what is your workout routine right now, and like do you have any like goals right now with like just lifting and stuff like that?
Yeah, so for working out on Mondays I do chest and try, and then Tuesday I do back and bi, and then Wednesday I do legs. I try to do jumping exercises also, like before I do legs, but the last couple of times, like, my knee was hurting, so I've stopped that. But I do want to definitely get back into doing that more. I just need to find like a good spot to do it, because it's tough, like doing it on hardwood or just on grass. And then I repeat the whole thing, and then I usually on Saturday I just do a mix of like if I miss some things during the week, like I'll do some of those exercises, and then Sunday is usually off, but Saturday it can be like on or off. And I also try to run about like 4 or 5 times a week. I usually do like 1 to 2 miles, like nothing crazy, but I definitely enjoy doing at the end of my runs I do like a hill sprint, because I like to try and stay fast. And I'd say my goals for working out would be to just stay athletic, and I'd really like my goal would be to get back to dunking. I haven't in a couple years, so I would love to get back there.
I like having a goal. I think it's always good. I think I talk about this in like all of my episodes. Like even my last one was talking about how I like setting goals and how important it is. So it's good, and I like that you have something that you want to be working towards. This next one somewhat relates, but not really. What's the biggest land animal you think you could beat in a fight in the octagon? I've had this discussion before. I'll give you my answer after, but go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is also people definitely way overestimate what they could take down. So that's tough. Like in my head, I might say like an animal, but I'm trying to think of like an animal that realistically, because you're not beating anything with like probably teeth or claws easily.
Yeah, I think that's also a part of this debate is the fact that people say that they could like kill and like I'm trying to think of the right way to say it, but like we don't have claws with like a lot of animals. Like we have been evolved we've been evolving away from needing to protect ourselves, if that makes sense. So we don't have a lot of the same tools that some animals have.
That's very true. Like it's like I always see this debate and I'm like, people are way overconfident in themselves. Like I saw someone saw they could take down a bear. I'm like,
that's probably the craziest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Or they think they could take on like a primate. It's like, no, they're like 3 times stronger than you. My answer would be a deer without, not one with antlers. Like I'm blanking what the female deer.
So you're just beating up a female deer. This is pretty crazy because deer is actually the same answer that I had. And so we're beating up female deer. If you're a female deer and you're listening to this, watch out.
Sorry, guys.
Because we're not going for the dudes. We're just
not mess with the antlers.
I had the same exact answer. Because I think proportionally, it's a big animal that it's like, because like, I don't even think I could beat like something like a honey badger or like one of those like really vicious small animals, but like size wise, deer definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and I feel like
and in the octagon, because it's small, they can't run. Yeah,
it's like they could charge you and like kick you, but it's not going to be as strong as like getting bit or like shredded up by like some people.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What's the craziest answer you've gotten off that?
I don't really know. I know I had to change the prompt to be land animal because I think people think that they would somehow beat anything in the water. I think the water, any animal that has the capability of killing something, like any fish that has like teeth, you're not gonna beat.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's more than like a foot, like
Yeah.
imagine like unless it's on land, but
Yeah.
I think
That doesn't count.
yeah. I don't really have like an immediate answer that comes to mind, but I do also like when people like underestimate their ability and they'll be like a chicken. Like I think most people can beat
Yeah.
more than a chicken.
Definitely.
But the next question I have is who is the worst / most annoying sports fan base of all sports?
Man, can I give two?
Yes.
The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, since the Eagles are better, I'd lean the Eagles.
What about like I'm talking like not I mean obviously because we're Giants fans we don't like them, but like big picture like if you're even like zooming at like just like all the time that you've been watching sports, is it still the same answer you think?
I feel like it's the Cowboys, like overall, like all time, because they always think it's like their year. I'd also like like slightly, I'd say the Steelers are kind of up there because anytime a player like Myles Garrett, anytime you see a post about him, you'll see Steelers fans in the comments talking about T.J. Watt. It's like he wasn't even mentioned, and people, they love hating on.
That I think that's a good answer also because that is like obviously like Eagles and Cowboys for you is more personal where the Steelers is probably the best answer because it's like you don't really have anything against them. They're not really like a team that the Giants are like rivals with or anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good answer. I also thought I feel like it was like it's probably it really just comes down to when a team is really good. It's like they're really annoying. Like because like I feel like for me it was like when I would watch football, Patriots would always be the worst. Patriots fans.
That's true.
Especially because where we live too, people love Tom Brady and we don't. I'm not a big Tom Brady guy. We never have been. But as we know, and as Robby loves to say, the Giants beat
them twice in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That is a good answer too. But the good thing is, anytime they say anything, we beat their best iteration of their best team. We beat them in the Super Bowl,
and that's why Eli Manning is the greatest player of all time.
Eli's like that.
Yep.
Hall of Famer this year.
All right, the last. This is we're already 22 minutes in and I haven't even gotten to the real questions yet. But this is the last of the these type of questions. How should Game of Thrones have ended, in your opinion? Because I think almost everybody on the planet agrees that last season was poor.
Yeah, they completely like changed how Daenerys was. Like I feel like it should have been.
Spoiler alert! If you are listening to this, we will be giving spoilers. But come on, it's been like 10 years since the show ended. So
if you haven't watched by now,
yeah.
But I think it should have been Daenerys, and then like I feel like her and like it should have been her, and then maybe like Jon as like one of the like the higher up too. Like it ended in a very weird way. Like they changed how she was. Like she started from like, oh, I'm gonna free all the people, and then she like they turned her the last season, and then they made Bran it, and it made no sense why Bran was it because it's like he didn't want that. Like he's just the three-eyed raven. Yeah,
I definitely agree. I think they ruined her character. It was like they built this character for 9 full seasons, and then with basically one episode destroyed her as a character and made it so she wasn't that great of a character anymore. It was like all this build for her to be. She was built up, and it felt like all the stuff that she did really didn't matter in the end. So I don't think they ended that very well. But I think also like if you're going off of who would have been a good king, I think Tyrion would have also been a good option because he was always great. But yeah, I think they just didn't do great.
Yeah, I remember we were very disappointed by that, and everyone I talked to, everyone's disappointed.
Yeah,
it's like, can we get an alternate?
And then so this next section, I just have some funny stories that I remember, just that we like from our childhood, that we'll try to piece together because I remember parts of this, but I'm sure you remember most of these because you're older than me also. The first that I remember is like you did this a lot and I did it a little bit, like entertaining ourselves with like making up football scores on pencil and paper. This was like being able to do that, like it's just like now we have like our phones and blah blah blah, but like that I literally, at least you were able to entertain yourself for hours with that. Like we'd be in like a 3-hour car ride and Robbie would just have a pen and paper and just draw out like scores. And it was like, so it was impressive how you were able to stay entertained with that and how much you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I made like a fake football league of just cities around the United States, and I had so much fun with it. Like I'd have like Spokane versus Hartford, and then I'd like make like each quarter's the score, and then I'd make a final score, and then I'd have a standings for like the whole league.
I didn't even
make
know
up.
it went that deep into having
Yeah.
standings in a whole league.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. Like I'd like whenever like we'd be on our way to like church or something, we'd have like the notepads in the car, and then I'd just be writing on that like the scores and just making stuff up.
That is a classic. I think that's knowing. I think that just like ties more into knowing you and like how much you love sports and especially football. Like that is.
Yeah.
My next one, I don't remember. I don't know if this is fully true, so you can correct me. I have a memory of it was either like we had Christmas carolers at our house, or like a neighbor was like asking for help, and you like were holding a bat out at the window.
Oh. So yeah, so this story was years ago. I think I was like sophomore in high school, maybe. My parents and Trevor were gone for the night. Or until late. I don't remember why, but all of a sudden I hear like crying outside, and then I go up to my dog Rusty. He was barking, and I'm like, what's going on? I look out the window. There's a woman holding. I don't remember if it was her puppy or her baby. One of those two was. I think the baby was locked in the house, and she was coming to the window. She was like crying. I could barely understand her. She was like asking for like a phone to call, and I had brought like my bat with me because I'm like, there's a suspicious, like Rusty's barking like crazy. I'm like, there's probably something suspicious going outside. I go to the window and I'm like, I've heard like stories like of like people like they distract with like someone innocent, and then they like to kidnap someone or something, or like rob someone. So I crack open the window. I'm like, can I help you? And she's like crying, and then she's like, can I use your phone? I locked my baby in the house, and I'm like, okay. So I keep the window.
Did you recognize her?
I did not recognize her because she was one of the new neighbors.
She was a new neighbor, yes.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Yes, that because I'd never seen her before, and I was very suspicious. So luckily, I mean, as we know, Rusty was a 100-pound Rhodesian Ridgeback.
Yeah,
he would have had our back, but
he would have eaten their puppy/baby without a doubt.
Yeah, that was a funny one. And I passed her the phone through the window, and then she called. It was the home phone, like because back then we had home phones.
Yes, and also even if you had if you had, I don't even know if you had a cell phone at that point.
Yeah,
but you wouldn't have given her the cell phone.
No.
You got to give her the home phone.
Definitely.
Agree. That is a very funny story. Then I have one so a big part for people who don't know, Robby, I'd say some core things. It's sports and food are like the two biggest things. One of the funniest stories, I tell this all the time, but that we were at a Chuck E. Cheese birthday party, and Robby, I don't really know when this was. I think it was one of our cousins' birthday parties. I don't really know how old we were. You must have been like 13, like 14. I don't really know. And I just have a memory of, it was like for some reason unlimited pizza, and I think Robby is the reason that a lot of Chuck E. Cheese's went out of business because I genuinely think he had like 6 pizza pies, and I just remember the waitress was just looking at him in awe and fear in how much pizza that he was consuming.
Yeah, that was I feel like I have like a slight memory of that, and then I just remember like I put it was like those small slices, and like they'd give you like 2 at a time, and then I'm like, come on.
And you were just devouring them. So that is another key memory that's like when I think of Robby's extraordinary eating ability, that is like his superhero origin story for me. Like if this was into like a TV show, that would be the moment that I would open with. The fear in that woman's face from your eating ability. I don't know if you have any other funny memories like that, but those are the main ones.
I did sidebar. I did scar one of my former soccer teammates at a Subway once.
You should probably clarify more because that sounds really scary.
It was because of how quickly I ate my sandwich.
Okay. Yes. And I believe it was a meatball sub.
It was
that
a
was your
meatball
classic
sub, I
Subway
believe,
order.
and I think I finished it like before he even got through like a quarter of his, and I don't think we were friends after that.
Yeah, that's definitely another core one. That's pretty funny because like imagine being him. Like, all right, well, if I saw you do that, it's not, I would just be like in awe. But the fact that like you guys like weren't really friends after that is kind of funny, or at least you like didn't become close friends. Maybe you don't know if that could have been the reason.
Could have been,
but they did. It was like correlation. We don't know if it was definitely another big one.
That is very true. It could have been the reason. Could have been other things, but we choose.
But we'll just say it was
we
the
choose
food.
to think it was the food.
My next little section is what's like your earliest memory of loving sports and like just sports in general. Yeah.
My earliest memory. Well, I do remember. I'd say I have a brief memory of. Obviously, I was only like 7 at the time, but the Giants 2007-2008 season Super Bowl, I have a brief memory of where we watched it. We watched it at my dad's friend Joe's house, and I just have like a flash of the game being on the TV, and then I remember us being so happy after. I don't remember a lot, but I remember that a bit, and then I'd say playing like the youth league soccer, like when it was just in-house. Like I remember playing with my friends. Like I know my friend Zach was on the team. I don't really remember who else, but I remember just kicking the ball around down.
Very early sports origins with soccer and football, which are two big sports in your life and even as a fan now. Of all sports, what are the teams that you support? Just for all the people out there. Obviously, we know Giants for football.
Yeah, so my number one team is, of course, the New York Giants. Number two, we also have I'm a Knicks fan, and then I'm also a Notre Dame Fighting Irish, since we are Irish, and our whole family supports them basically on my dad's side. So I'm pretty much all fans of all the teams my dad likes because he's the one who originally like got us into sports. So. Also, like, I'm not a baseball guy, but my dad loves the Mets, so of course, we're Mets fans too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, the last one was recently. We've always loved soccer, but recently I decided to get more into Premier League, so I chose a team, and I went with the Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yes, the Wolves.
The Wolves.
Yes, that's a new pickup, but it's good to have a Premier League team. But they're not doing very well, are they?
They just got out of relegation.
Okay, so they're basically the same as the Giants right now.
It's sort of
not doing great, but all right, and then this next, so transitioning into a bigger topic. So you didn't go to college. What? I guess I'll start with like. Why is the big one?
Yeah, so for like college, like I was getting towards the end of like my senior year, and I just had like zero interest in going to college. Like I don't know like necessarily like why, but I'm just like I didn't really enjoy school. Like I did fine, but it was just like, and I just feel like I could never focus like studying. Like I'd always still do fine because like certain things like my memory could pick up well, but I just never enjoyed school at all. Like I just had no interest in doing more of it, and I felt like I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I just knew like I didn't want to go to college.
Mm-hmm. And as like when you were in your like, let's say like middle school to high school, like did you have like a dream career that you thought of, or you were kind of just like, I don't know?
Yeah, I didn't really know like what I like my dream career like would have been. Like I just like at one point like when I was younger, I'm like I was really into fishing. Like I love the show River Monsters. I'm like, oh, I want to be a fisherman. And
Mm-hmm.
then like when I got older, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that
Mm-hmm.
because I realized like what that actually entails. And then I'm like, oh, I'd like to be like something in sports maybe. And that was pretty much the only like other thing like I remember like thinking of like something in the sports industry.
Mm-hmm. And how difficult was it making the decision to not go to college? Because we like our town that we grew up in, I would say probably 95% of people who graduate high school go to college. Probably it's definitely like a higher rate than like the average like high school like around the country. It's a pretty like it's a wealthy area.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people end up going to college. So how difficult was it making the decision not to go to college with like kind of like that pressure and the idea that like you just kind of didn't know what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I like to me like honestly, I felt like I didn't feel that much pressure because I just knew I didn't want to do it. Like I know like mom and dad like originally like they're supportive of it, but they're like trying to encourage me to like go to like I went to like a visit like a couple like the local ones, but I just still like had no interest and I just felt myself just like not like know what I wanted to do with it. So I just decided I'm like I'll look into something else to do, but I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm. Um, and then so you, I guess you, I don't remember the exact timeline, but so did you start working at Stop and Shop? Was that after you graduated? Was that what that was?
Yeah, so after I graduated, I decided, or talking with the parents, I'm like, oh, should get a job somewhere. So we were like, oh, a lot of people in the town worked at Stop and Shop.
Yeah,
So
because
like,
I mean, our town didn't have a lot of places you
yeah,
could work. It's
definitely.
just like a store and like it would be like Starbucks or Stop and Shop are basically your options.
Yeah. Yeah, so I ended up working at Stop and Shop. I so originally when I applied, like I had applied for general stocking, and then not knowing they were gonna as soon as they're like, oh, when can you start? As soon as I got there, basically, and then I'm like, they're like, all right, we're putting you in the seafood department. I'm like, oh, okay.
Ooh.
I did not realize how smell. Well, I did realize, but I was just like, all right.
And you already didn't like seafood, so it
Yeah.
made it worse probably.
Yeah, every day there's not a lot of people going to the new Fairfield Stop and Shop for seafood, and at the end of the day, you smell like smelly fish.
Yes. Um, and then I know you had a brief stint into like real estate that you kind of tried. What
hmm
like when was the timeline for that?
So during the time I was working at Stop and Shop, I worked there just for a while, just doing that. But I also was looking into like doing the real estate thing because I talking with my parents, and then we're like, this could be a cool industry to go into maybe because it's like you just need to take a class and get the license. So I did do that briefly. I basically during that time while I was working at Stop and Shop, I was going to the real estate classes. I think I went like later that year, I believe, and then I went to the classes, and then you have to sign up for the licensing test, and I did. I got my license, so I did that.
And do you still have like how does that work? Do you still technically have your real estate, or is it like you need to renew it
You
kind of
need
thing?
to pay your like dues each
Okay.
year, which I think it like ends up being like 1,000 or 2,000 in dues
Mm.
per year. I could be wrong, but I think it was something like that. So I did try that. I we actually have one of my mom's friends. She worked in real estate, so I ended up going and shadowing her for a while. I actually ended up like doing one rental that she basically like alley oops to me,
Mm-hmm.
but I kind of like felt myself. I'm like, it's cool, but it's like I'm not. I don't think it's for me because it's like the social aspect is so much like, and I felt like I didn't really enjoy that part. Like I like the house part. Like it's like cool
Yeah,
seeing all
it's
the
very
houses.
like it's very salesman-y, and I
hmm
don't you're like the personality for a salesman. I feel like is not your exact like it didn't match perfectly for you.
hmm
But it was just like it was obviously it's good that you tried it
Yeah.
because it was like I mean, in the process of doing that, you're figuring out figuring out what you don't like, is helping you figure out what you will eventually like.
Yeah, it was a side quest
Mm-hmm.
into the, and I also at the time I was also doing like a little bit of reselling.
Okay, and then you like what was at what point did you stop working at Stop and Shop and then start like full time reselling?
So I stopped working at Stop and Shop when I started shadowing for real estate.
Okay, yeah.
I ended up stopping. Yeah, I stopped there. Oh, also while at Stop and Shop, we did. I did also participate in a strike. So that is
Nice.
that
Another
was
side quest.
another side quest. But yeah, I'd ended up yeah ending right before I started shadowing, and then I ended up doing that for a few months, and then the one rental, and then shortly after that I came home and I'm like, I don't really enjoy this, and I ended up deciding, I'm like, I think it's time for me to just try going straight into
Yeah.
reselling.
And diving fully into it and committing to it. And obviously it went well and you're still doing that to this day, and now you have other kind of streams of revenue. So that's, yeah, I guess that kind of covers what you're doing now. Going a little bit back, so you played football in high school.
Mm-hmm.
What like lessons do you think that taught you? Like what do you pull from it, like positives that you
I'd say like how to work like together like with a group of guys and kind of like have camaraderie. Um and also like I feel like you learn like how to work hard cuz you're doing like a lot of strenuous things, especially like during the summer, like in the heat of things, and you kind of learn how far you can push yourself, I'd say.
hmm like exploring your physical limits, and that is definitely, yeah, like being a part of a team I think is huge. I think anybody, like when I have children, like I want them to play sports, not football particularly, but I think sports are so important. We've been playing sports our whole lives, so it's definitely a key part of all our lives, as we've seen with, we're big sports fans and we have always been playing sports. Um, that kind of wraps it. Is there any other things you want to kind of add about like the taking the non-college route? Like what was it like talking to friends and family about saying you're not going to college? Like did you, I do feel like you are pretty good, like in my opinion, good at being pretty immune to pressure and like
Mm-hmm.
peer pressure. Um but like how was that? Was it difficult?
I feel like it was like not that difficult. Like I feel like I didn't really feel pressure. Like the only thing I kind of missed was like the social aspect.
Mhm.
But I ended up like visiting my friends a good amount. Like I visited them for the first time at UConn. I have a lot of friends that go to UConn, and um, sophomore year, their sophomore year I visited them, and then I think they were like junior and senior years. I was visiting like most weekends. Like
Mhm.
their senior year, I visited almost every weekend because they were happy to have me, luckily, and I'm definitely thankful to have those guys because I spent a lot of time just visiting. I got the social aspect of hanging out with them, but I just was doing my own thing reselling.
Yeah, you basically got the fun part of college, which is that like you didn't have to pay any tuition. You just kind of pulled up, hung out. Everyone else is worried about like, oh, I have a test next week. You're like, oh, that's crazy. That's so crazy. Can't relate. But so you definitely got the fun parts, and it is good
Mm-hmm.
because I think an important part of college is the social aspect. So you kind of got to experience a lot of that, which is good that you still got like a taste of it.
Yeah.
Do you have regret for not going to college?
I don't have regret. I like the only thing like I would have like kind of regretted would be like the social part, like branching out to meet like new people. But besides that, it's like I had no interest. Like I honestly like I can say like I'm fine with like people going like either route, like whichever one is like good for them. Like some people like especially like you're what you're going for, like you go to college, you have to go to college for it, and then like it's obviously you get all the great experiences along the way. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like I didn't know like what I wanted to do, so I'm like I'm just gonna see how things go kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you definitely. I mean, and it's good that you got the little bit of like you got to experience some of the college stuff, and it's good that you were able to make the decision. You didn't like force yourself to go, because
Mm-hmm.
if you forced yourself to go and then hated it, it probably would have just like really made you unhappy, like
Yeah.
that would have sucked.
And I'm definitely very thankful like for my friends. Like I also met like some other like friends like through them that are like I still hang out with and like talk to every day from just going and visiting them. So like it's definitely thankful for them.
Yeah, thankful for UConn and thankful for the pals.
Of course.
Moving into this is a more serious topic. But so we both have so when we were younger, I talked about this in one of my other episodes, but our car got broken into, and I think this was a point of like a birthing point of anxiety and paranoia for the both of us. I talked about this in one of my episodes, so I won't repeat all my thoughts. I'll get your thoughts on it too. But for me, I saw this as like, I don't exactly remember when this was, but it was when we were like younger. This was my first showing that like people are capable of evil and people do bad things. Like we had been obviously very sheltered and we were blessed to be in such a great area. We had like a loving family, no issues ever. And this was something that showed me that people are capable of bad things. And it started to make me very paranoid. And I think I'm still a pretty paranoid person, and I think that is a big part. Then also another source of a lot of my paranoia is like school shootings and Sandy Hook happening.
Mm-hmm.
Not at our school, but it was like 15 minutes away from our school. And just like the fear in that moment and thinking like, oh my gosh, people are not just like bad, people can be evil.
Mm-hmm.
So was the car as big for you as it was for me, do you think?
I feel like it might have been like subconsciously because I'm like, I don't really like remember like it having crazy impact. Although they did steal my DS,
Yes,
which I
with
was
the Pokemon in it probably.
it probably did have Pokemon in it, which I was very upset about. And like we went down the road and they had thrown like all like we had like all our coloring books and like notepads, like they just had
Our
thrown them in the
Bibles.
street, like yeah, everything not worth any money. They just threw out.
It was a very I have memories of like us like we kind of just like were walking down the street and we just see like I'm like, oh hey, there's my Bible in the middle of the road, there's like
Mhm.
my pencils, there's my coloring pad, and it was just like felt very like it was a like I don't know like like there was like a big invasion of my privacy.
Mhm.
Obviously like people go through so much worse stuff, but this was like kind of like an introduction to me, and I think it's possible it also hit me a little bit more because I was younger. I'm 3 years younger.
Mhm.
So it might have just been like the timing or everything. I don't know if you remember the year or anything like when this happened. I don't really remember specifically.
Yeah, I
We could
don't.
probably find it out if we asked our parents.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely like thinking back, like we were pretty young when that happened, and I definitely know like we're both paranoid to this day, like of just like not necessarily just from that, but like just I think in general, like we also might be like a little more paranoid. Like I always like have to check the doors are locked like multiple times. Like I'm
Mhm.
like even though I know I locked it, I have to check again,
Yeah.
and like stuff like that. Like I feel like I want to make sure like our family's protected and like
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I'm definitely also like that. I think it's interesting because we're different about different things.
Mhm.
But like I'm similar. Like I'm like big on like just like kind of like just like I always need to have my door locked and stuff like that. Like I'm big on that. Like even at school, like even when I'm in my dorm room, which like if someone was trying to get to me in my dorm room, they would have to first go through the main door, which you need an ID to get into, and then they would need to have the key to get into my main dorm room, and then have to have the key to get into my room. So like, but still in my head,
Yeah.
I'm like everything needs to be locked. I need to be like, we're both like this. We
Mhm.
need everything to be locked. We're not gonna sleep with the windows open, like with like
Yeah.
the shades, and like we're very like that.
Mhm.
Which I think is good, but obviously it can be a little bit like we're a little bit extra, and also I think because we're both like this, like we feed into like like we're
Yeah.
like it's not like one of us are like, oh, you're being crazy. Like we're like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna
Yeah.
start adding a bat to my bed as my nightly routine. Like it's
Yeah.
like some people think that's insane, but I'm just like, yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
normal. Like that's
And I feel like also like when we had Rusty, like it was good. Like it helped a little because he would bark at any noise. So like
Mhm.
obviously it was annoying at the time, but I'm thankful that we had that. And also, I feel like we are also like in general, like we're more paranoid on people. Like we don't trust people like that we don't know, and I think we
Like
just
the neighbor.
exactly
That's a good
like the
example.
neighbor. It's like we are definitely like a lot more suspicious of people. I think that's like similar with our mom. Like we might have gotten that a little from her, like because
Yeah.
we're always like thinking like, what angle are people trying to get?
And she talks about how she thinks some of it could even be, well, I think it's definitely like learned behavior that gets passed down, but she talks about how it could even be at some sort of like genetics where like her, it's like probably like an anxiety thing, but how her grandmother was extremely anxious and like, or more just like paranoid and like always thought people were doing bad things. And like
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely, we have a little bit of that ingrained into us, and it's just like subconsciously where it's just like taught through how we are raised and all that, and like the things that we have experienced. um but yeah, and then another topic around anxiety that we both experience, and I talked about this on one of my episodes, is just like sports anxiety. So I talked about this in one of my episodes, but I'll quickly like hash what I kind of experienced. So I played soccer my whole life. Basically, I mean, I had a couple stints of playing other sports briefly, but I've always been just soccer. And soccer was just like, I loved soccer. It was always awesome. And then I think it wasn't until high school, probably my sophomore year, when I um, first started for varsity, was when the real anxiety started. The first game that I played, that I started, I mean, I think a part of it is playing that I was playing center back, in my opinion, extremely stressful position.
Definitely.
Especially as a sophomore, a sophomore should not be playing that position
Mm-hmm.
at a varsity level. We were very slim on people, so our defense was 3 sophomores. High pressure. I would throw up on the field just about every single game, and I would have stomach problems the whole day. I'd feel like garbage the whole day. I'd be stressing about the game. But then once I kind of got into the game, I would be like a little bit dizzy even. I would throw up on the field most games. But then like I would touch the ball once and all of it would magically disappear. Um that's kind of what mine was. What stuff did you feel and experience? Cuz I still feel this to this day a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time. For stuff like it's a big reason why I stopped playing soccer is because I've realized it doesn't make me feel good a lot of the time to play competitive soccer. Like I love playing
Mm-hmm.
it casually. Competitive soccer I really don't like, and whenever I try to go back, I end up not liking it. That's why I'm glad I found running, because it's something that doesn't stress me out. Because I want it to be like that. Like I've intentionally designed it to be like that. But what is your experience with that?
Yeah, so when I was like younger in like I think like 5th or 6th grade, so I was playing soccer. Like I'd always played soccer, and I never had felt this way, but like all of a sudden like one season I started like my stomach was hurting always before games, and then like I'd be like, oh, I don't want to play, like I don't want to play, and like I wouldn't play, like I refused to play. And then like I didn't know at the time like it was anxiety, but I'm just like I didn't know I didn't want to play. So I ended up not playing like that season basically. Like I refused to go in. And I remember like I specifically remember like that season like I practiced like I went like I scored like a coast to coast goal, and then like my coach was like, oh, why can't you do that in the game? I just like was thinking to myself I don't know, like
Like
'cause
I want to.
yeah,
That's
I
what you're
want
thinking.
to, but it's like I don't like I just physically couldn't get myself to go into
And that's not a
games.
great thing for a coach to say to
Yeah,
a young player. If in
definitely.
high school, like a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more rigid coaching like is
Yeah.
good. I think in a lot of settings like that just only makes it worse. It's really like if I was the coach, I would be like talk to your parents and be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, like is everything okay? Blah blah blah. Like is there anything that we can do?"
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so continue.
Yeah, so then I eventually like it got to the point like where I'm like my parents were like, "Or do you want to play again next year?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to play." They're like, they wanted me to still play a sport though, so I ended up playing baseball, which I enjoyed baseball, and I feel like because I didn't really care about it like as much, like I didn't get anxiety, but I also felt like I also didn't like batting because I didn't want to get hit by the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I also refused to play anything but the outfield because I didn't want, like, I saw like videos of guys getting like nailed by the baseball,
Mm-hmm.
like just a line drive coming through. So I ended up playing that until 8th grade, which I remember the final season I played was actually pretty fun because I was playing with, like, in a league, it was like 13 and under, and I was playing with like people that were like in Trevor's grade, and it was my best season of baseball ever.
They were like, oh, it's like the bench warmers scene where the guy like has his paper and he's like, I am 10, and it's like Robby has like facial hair and he's playing against like 13-year-olds, and he's like, why can that kid, like, you were like, you would hit the ball extremely far every time because you're playing against people who are pitching like a lot, probably slower than they should have been. But I think it was a like a good setting because it wasn't. It also wasn't extremely competitive, which I think is good for the anxiety.
It was a fun environment. Like I remember that season was my favorite, just because it was just like, it was easy and it was fun, and we were also bad anyway because there was like some of the other teams that had a lot more people my age because we were playing in Danbury and we were just like the new Fairfield team. So, but it was a very fun year, definitely. And then it's continued like after that, like even for like football, like throughout high school. I also played like soccer in the spring and the summer, and I always felt like that first season, like when I played like rec and I like was scoring, like I scored a lot of goals, and it was my first time like coming back to soccer. So I think that like brought the love back for like playing. Like I still liked watching, but then after that, like I feel like it just for every like organized sporting event, like I would feel like my stomach would feel like it's dropping. Like it felt like it would feel terrible, and then also like I would feel like lethargic and slow, like even though people would say like, oh, you're not moving slow, definitely, but I would feel like I'm moving slow. Like I'd feel like my legs were like made of lead. Like I feel like it continued to get worse even after high school, like just playing in the summer league, and like I would feel so stressed out. Like I'm like, why am I feeling stressed? This is just for fun, but I don't know like why, but just how I guess we're like wired, like we just still like we feel like something's like just
there's this level of like anxiety. And it's interesting because ours are like slightly different, but also pretty similar. Like I know we both get this like pit in our stomach. I now like I kind of learned it over time, but like if I had like a game, I couldn't eat like even like 4 hours before. Like I would have to just not eat a lot before that. And even just like I would like drink a lot of water, but like I couldn't drink too much water. Could never have like any Gatorade or anything. It was only water from like that 4 hour mark until the game. Never any other liquid, nothing. It was just water. And yeah, like I don't know, like I don't think you were ever like a thrower upper on the field, but that was my specialty. I have a memory of throwing up. I had eaten a little bit too close to the game. This one I think wasn't even it wasn't even the anxiety as much. It was just I ate like 45 minutes before a game, and it was a summer league game, so I didn't really care that much. And I was one of my friends, like I was on defense with one of my friends, and we're like a minute into the game, and I just puke up an entire plate of rice and beans. Like it was like you could just see the food, and he just looks at me and he's like, "What?" And I was just like, I just kept playing. I was always able to play through it, but it definitely impacted me, and it made it so like I would dread the game, and then I would also do that thing, like the thing where like I would think I played a lot worse than I did. Like I would play totally fine and no one would even notice, but I would like it was like even in high school, like I was the varsity captain of the team, and before the game sometimes I would go to the bathroom and be like almost puking, like or like just my stomach would be so upset. But I'd get in the game and then I would do fine. But it's like, I don't know, I think this is important because even just like, obviously like we are not hyper, like we're not in like professional athletics, but like it's definitely a thing, like being anxious for like in a sporting event. Like it's a thing. Even when, like I said, we weren't professionals, but like I was playing on varsity, I was the captain. I shouldn't have been anxious, but I was still very, very anxious. So it's definitely a real thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like that has to like, I feel like there shouldn't, like we were just playing for fun even in the summer league, and it still like felt like man, I feel horrible, and the only thing that would like cure it is you feel horrible until you do something good. Like I feel
Yes.
like, and then I'd feel so much better. Like if I scored a goal or like hit someone
Mhm.
or like did something that I felt good, because I feel like I'd feel like when I was touching the ball or like dribbling the ball or like not haven't done anything yet, like I'd feel like all like bumbly, like falling
Mhm.
around, like, and I'm like, I feel like that's the only thing that would make something right. And I wish like we could like just play without like getting that, but
Yeah. And yeah, I for me it was very similar. It was like, but my threshold where would be basically like someone would pass me the ball and I would be like literally like sometimes like dizzy, but I'd
hmm
get the ball, I'd pass it, and then it would just be 100% gone. It was like magic. It would just like all disappear, totally gone. It was very very weird.
hmm
My coach would always like talk about this term, like say this term, like he'd say like getting your sea legs under you. I don't know if you heard
hmm
this term, but I don't even know what it like kind of means. But he basically would always describe it as like when you start the game, you got to get a few touches in. Like, and most people are like, it's kind of just like getting
yeah,
warm in the moment,
exactly.
but definitely was a thing, and the sports anxiety is definitely still a thing. But I don't get it. I don't get it for running, which is great, and I've done like 2 races. So, but I think it's also because I don't care as much as I ever did about soccer, and that's why I like running. Like I care about it, but I don't care to the point where I'm like beating myself up if I make a mistake. Like that's why I also
hmm
like the ultra running more than the marathon. Like a marathon running felt very like you have to dial in your minutes and be like, oh, I need to shave down 30 seconds on this and blah blah blah.
hmm
Where ultra running is just like go, and
hmm
I like that I can shut my mind off. Where soccer, obviously, I have to be super locked in into the
Yeah,
moment.
definitely. And it's great. Like you have that like outlet like
Mm-hmm.
that you can get out all
Because
these
me and you are
miles.
both the type of people where we need to have an athletic type of
Yeah.
outlet. That's why we're always playing sports. We're always doing
hmm
something. And I'm glad we have things now that we can do that don't cause us stress because it's supposed to be fun.
Definitely.
But my next little topic is travel. So you've traveled to a lot of different places. So if you could do a quick like try to name all the places that you've been.
Okay. So I guess I'll just start from the first like big trip that I did with me and my friends. We went on a road trip to Yellowstone National Park. We also visited Badlands National Park on the way, Mount Rushmore. We also so basically those, and then Tetons. We also, while we were by Yellowstone, you can just go down through the bottom and visit that. And then also the next big trip we did was me and my friends. We went to the next year. We went to France, and then I visited Trevor in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another one was also we visited Monaco when we were there. We visited Africa in 2023, which is
Mm-hmm.
truly amazing, and shout out to
Yep.
Grandma because that was
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So thankful
Yeah,
to be able to do
Tanzania and
that.
Uganda,
Yeah.
2 countries down.
And then this year we visited a bunch of national parks. We visited Great Sand Dunes National Park, Mesa Verde, the Four Corners Monument, the Grand Canyon. We visited Zion, Bryce Canyon, Capitol Reef, Arches, and Canyonlands.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, me and Trevor visited Acadia this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then a small one we did this year with my friends, we visited Lake Placid, which is very nice.
Mm-hmm. So lots of travel. What are your top 3 places you've been, like favorite of everything?
I definitely number one has to be Africa because that was like truly like one of my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So I was that's definitely got to be one. But I'd say next it's tough because like there's so many of the national parks that I really loved. If I had to pick, I'd say sand dunes would be. I don't know if that's two, but I think that's up there. And then also I'd say, um, Capitol Reef. I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I definitely want to see some of the national parks because awesome. If I'm trying to think if I was giving my like favorite places I've been, I'd say 1 would be Switzerland. 2 would be the Africa trip all together.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3, I would honestly, I guess I would go. Crete was awesome in Greece. And then honorable mention, I'd go like Acadia just because it was awesome to finally go to a national park.
Yeah.
Definitely next on my list is I want to see more national parks, and then big picture, like I guess you can give a wish list of places you want to go. I'll give my like little one. Like I definitely want to do like go to like Sweden, one of the Scandinavian countries, and then I've had an interest in Japan. One of my friends studied abroad there and he loved it. I just have an interest because it seems really awesome, and like if I was gonna go somewhere in Asia, that would probably be the spot that I would go. But yeah, what are some of your?
Yeah, so some of the ones, like there's some national parks I definitely want to see, like the California ones, like Yosemite. A big one is definitely the Patagonia down in Argentina, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd want to go to that one. And then another one is my friend Matt. He's Korean, and one day he wants to have us visit there with him. So that's definitely one definitely want to do. That'd be a cool one. And then there's like the Scandinavian countries like Iceland. There's also like there's some places like Europe too that I want to visit. I'm pretty open. Like there's a lot of places I want to go.
Yeah, definitely. So many places. Iceland is definitely one too. I definitely want to see. What is the most underrated location, like travel wise, you went to, and most overrated?
So most underrated, I'd have to say. I feel like Tetons National Park. It might not be as underrated now because it is a pretty busy park. But I'm just thinking off the top of my head out of like ones I've been to. I feel like people when they say they want to visit a national park, they don't see Tetons, but we saw a lot of wildlife there. We saw 2 bears. We saw a moose literally like 25 feet away from us. Most overrated, I'd say like I know it's crazy to say, but Mount Rushmore I'd say is most overrated because you're there for like 10 minutes, and then you're like it's cool to see once, but it's like it wasn't as like I feel like grand as I thought it was gonna be, but it was still like very cool to see. But also I actually thought of a better one, Four Corners Monument. That's you pay $8 a person to take a picture and just to say I've been in all four states at the same time.
That's like you feel like you have to do it.
Yeah,
like, you
it's
might
like
as well.
I'm like we're there. I'm like
Yeah.
I want to do it.
At least it's not like $80 a person.
Yeah.
It probably will be soon. My next category is I titled the supernatural. I don't really know if that's the right way to describe it, but a couple questions. So my first one is, what's your like relationship with superstition? Because I feel like you're a pretty superstitious person. So talk to me about your just everything about that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty superstitious. Like I don't know if it'll be like if I say something or I hear someone say something bad, I have to like knock on wood just like for myself. Like I want.
It's like scratching an itch.
Exactly. Like I'm just like feel like I just have to just in case out there. It's like to protect something. Like. So I feel like that's what the main thing I'm superstitious about.
Is there other things that you are superstitious about? Like I'm trying to think, like, because I know we've talked about like athletes at Harvard will be like superstitious about their routine. Like, do you have stuff like that, where like you need to do your routine the exact same way?
I feel like not really for like that. I feel like more so like it's like. Let's say I'm watching a Giants game. I'm like, if they're doing good, I have to sit in this spot still, or like something.
And especially
like
with the Giants now, if you find that spot, you gotta stay.
Oh yeah, gotta stay there.
Actually, you should be looking for a bad spot. Now.
For next week.
Yeah. And then, what's your relationship with religion and God?
So like, I'm not like really a big like church person, but I still like I believe in God and like I still like. Sometimes like prayer, but it's not really like I'd say like I'm like seeking out like church and like all that. Like I'm just not interested in that. Like for me, like growing up, like I was always really bored in church. Like that was the thing. Like I'd fall asleep a lot. Like I just didn't interest me. Like I have a hard time like doing things that really don't interest me. Like I'd rather something like is moving or like I need to be like kind of stimulated. But it's yeah, definitely like I believe in God, and like I just kind of like it makes me feel good like that. I feel like there's someone out there like
Mm-hmm. There's a
watching
reason
over.
for everything, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of, and like church, I think I had a similar experience with church where mine also came down to like, I think I was more in the boat of like, I was asking so many questions
Mhm.
and I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted. And like, it would always come down to, for me, I talked about this in one of my episodes. A lot of these topics I've already talked about, but, um, like I would always get stressed out, and I think it was like when school shootings started happening, I would just ask the question, be like, why does God let this happen? And that would be basically no one would ever be able to answer. And
Yeah.
even maybe there's people right listening right now that are like, oh, I could answer that. I don't think anyone could give me an answer that would satisfy me. I
Mhm.
think I used to have a lot more rage towards
Yeah.
religion. I don't have that anymore. I have no like ill feelings towards religion. I think it's an important part of a lot of people's lives, and
Mhm.
I think it's also just fascinating as a concept. I love talking about stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I think it's I think now, where both of where us are at, like we're not huge into church, but like for you, and I think it's religion is a lot more individual and personal.
Mhm.
And like a lot of it, sometimes I don't like that there's like this shame, and it's like, oh, if you're not going to church, then you're not like good. Or it's
Mhm.
like a lot of people are just kind of going to church for show, it seems. Like
Yeah.
it's no one should be able to shame or judge if someone says that they believe in God and they're religious but they don't go to church. It doesn't, in my
Mhm.
opinion, it doesn't matter. Maybe the Bible says differently, but I, in my opinion, think you can do whatever you want, and I think there shouldn't be any shame around it. It's everyone should have their own individual like journey, and
Mhm.
it's an individual thing, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like I feel like I don't I'm just not interested in the whole church thing, but it doesn't matter. Like I feel like as long as like it's your own personal thing, like, and then also like what the main takeaways I feel like is just be a good person, like outside of like your life. Like there's people that go to church that aren't good people. There's plenty of people that go to church that are amazing people, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like the main thing that's important is to have like your own relationship with God, and then I feel like just be a good person.
Yeah, I
Those are the
think
main
that's also
things.
a big thing for me that I think I like clicked with me about. I mean, for when we're talking about religion, we're basically talking about Christianity, just because that's kind of where the
Mhm.
church that we went to. But I think it was like pulling the. I think it's great for children a lot of the time because it teaches them like morals, and it's just like love thy
Mhm.
neighbor, like be good, like don't do bad things. Like it's like I think even just like if you're looking at the Bible as like a piece of like philosophical work, like it's a lot of it is like most people just do it if you're just a good person. Most of the
Mhm.
things, most of the key things. So yeah, I mean, it's like I think it's interesting looking at religion and looking at Christianity as like it has like a moral code to it.
Mhm.
There's like even if you're ignoring everything about God, there's still the moral code, which is just be a good person, which I
Yeah.
think is important.
And I feel like another thing that like kind of moved this away was also like the the church we were at. It felt like they weren't supportive of like all groups of people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like gay people. Like it feels like, and then also it feels like there's also always like not necessarily in the church we went to, but it feels like there's also like a lot of people like that aren't that are kind of racist in like some of these like
Yeah.
places. So it feels like I don't I really don't get if you can't like love all types of people and like care for people, like I really don't get like why, like, and I feel like that's a struggle to have like with organized church. It's
Mm-hmm.
like if you don't like love and support all types of people, then are you really like following what God would want?
Yeah. It's and I don't like that a lot of it has become politicized, and
Mhm.
I don't think it should be a part. It's when our founding fathers were creating the country, they made it so there was a freedom of religion, and that
Mhm.
should be a key component. And I do agree. I think that was another reason that like in my I took like a history class semester, and we would like talk a little bit about like this whole umbrella of like they call it like social issues, but like
Mhm.
things like just like gay marriage and like abortion and stuff like that. Like a lot of it feels like it's become so intertwined and political and like volatile as topics, and like exactly what you said, like can you really call yourself like a good Christian if you're hating someone for the way that they're living their life and something that's completely out of their control? Nobody's choosing to do anything. People are born a certain way, and that's, you just need to accept it. And also, it really doesn't matter because they're not impacting your life. Like, if you're like a deeply Christian person and you hate someone for being gay, it's like why are you filling your heart with hate over a person? Like, why do you even care what they do? Just let them live their life.
Exactly. Like, that's like, I know we both feel like very strongly on this, especially since we have family members who are gay, and we just feel like, I don't get why you would care what another person does. It's not affecting you at all. Like, they love each other, so why do you have an issue? Like, I feel like the issue is you if you have the problem with that. Like, it's like, there's no reason.
Yeah, and also like people will talk about that, and like that'll be such a hot topic issue, but they'll pick and choose pieces of the Bible, and it'll be like, oh, if you really want to follow the Bible to a T, like I don't know, like we've talked to our mom about this. Like she talks about like if she knows somebody is like anti-gay and is like in the church, she'll be like, oh, so you've never like overeaten, you've never been gluttonous in your entire life.
Yeah.
Like it's like you've never broken one thing in the Bible. Like people act like they're so perfect, but they just do that to deflect how they're making mistakes in their life and then try to guilt other people.
Exactly.
You need like people. The term that's a funny term, but like pocket watching, like people need to get out of each other's business.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's no need. Like just live your life and just be a good person, and you're probably gonna be fine.
Exactly.
But like just like it feels very like sometimes it's just not a fun topic to talk about. But I used to be way more like aggressive about religion and not hate it. But now I'm just like, I think it's cool, and I think you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you you have the right group of people, like the right church, like it's a great community to have. It's just like not something I'm particularly interested in, but I know we have family members who love their church and like love going to church, which is awesome. So we love that for them. It's just like for us particularly, I feel like we just kind of feel like we have our own personal things.
And then staying on this theme of deep questions, if you had to answer the question of what the meaning of life is, what would you say?
Part of me wants to say ball is life.
Wow. I mean, that could be your answer. That could be your answer.
I feel like it's just to keep going. I really can't think of a good answer, but I feel like it's just the point is to just, keep going and doing as much thing and loving the people around you.
Yeah. Obviously not an easy question to answer. And also I did not preface Robby and let him time. Like I didn't like tell him what these questions. I gave him like general topics, but he did not know these questions were going to be asked. So I just think it's fun asking people really, really deep questions like that without preparation. I think you did good.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, obviously there is no answer to that. But like I know a lot of people just be like happiness, and then it's like, but what is happiness? And it's like, yeah, I think it's an interesting topic.
You could go into like, what is anything? Like it's
But most of the time, you don't even need to get that in depth. It's just like, I don't know.
Just go with the flow, man.
Just live. Yeah.
Live, have fun.
Yeah, just do it. Nike. Ball is
sponsored.
Life. Yep.
Sponsor the pod.
That would be great. All right, this next one. Last of this category. Are people born naturally good, naturally bad, or a blank slate, in your opinion?
I feel like that's a tough question because I feel like it's different because I feel like it also depends on the situation you're born into. If you're naturally good or bad, like we were born into an awesome situation with two great, wonderful parents and surrounding like family members that are great and awesome. But if someone was like born into a different situation, like it can be a lot harder. So I think it's a little bit like it's a combination of everything. Like it's like somewhat a blank slate if you're born into the right environment. But I feel like also some people like are obviously born with like mental conditions and like things that might make them like crazy one day, or there are also some that are just born into like a bad situation or like a good situation. But even if you're born into a good situation, doesn't guarantee that you turn out good. So I think it's a lot more like you're kind of like born wired a certain way, but you can be like changed like based on like your environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's also it's a fun question because it's also impossible to answer. But yeah, I liked your answer. I think when I am like thinking about this, like I tend to go just like fully blank because I think like if someone's born and then like it's basically just like you said, it's your parents, it's like what's around you. So that's what makes me think that like you're totally blank because you could like I even think like between blank and naturally good because I'm like if you're born in a terrible situation, a lot of time like bad things you'll end up bad and bad things will happen. But a lot of times you hear these amazing stories of people that are like struggling and making it out of this, and it's like a lot of it's like that like inspirational. Like I think it's like you kind of have to think that people are a little bit naturally good,
Yeah.
because all the stories that you hear and all the fantastic things that people can do. All right, my next category is just like called habits. So my first question is, what motivates you? And you can answer this in two different things, because first, like I think like and like what motivates you in like working out, but then in life in general, like what makes you keep going?
I feel like for like working out, like I feel like it just motivates me. Like I want to stay athletic. Like that's pretty much what motivates me there. And then for life, I feel like just like having my friends and family around me, like it just motivates me to like I want everyone to be happy around me. So I just want to keep getting better and better, and hopefully one day like be able to help like everyone in a way at least. Like
Mm-hmm. And I know, so I've talked about this in so the original name for this podcast was going to be Head North. Um, it ended up being the same name as a band, so I did not go for that. I don't know if I told you, like, do you know that that was the original name?
No, I didn't know that. That's
well, that was the original name that I thought of. And the whole idea behind it was like, to me, like, I discovered this through running. It was basically like like heading north to me is like, what do you do when you just don't know what to do? When you have, you just, like, you're a little bit lost. You don't know what to do. What do you, like, what's like that North Star that you just like keep working? Like, what do you do when you're stuck, when you're like, that was the general idea. And for me, a lot of the time it's running. But then it can also be like talking to someone. But for you, like, what do you think yours is that, like, when you're in a funk, like, when you're unhappy, like, what can you do? What do you do to make yourself, like, try to fight out of the mood, or what do you do?
That's a tough question. I definitely like I just usually think like I just want like I just want to be better. Like it's like there's no reason to like even like when I'm down on myself or like feeling bad, I'm just like there's always someone like who's struggling way more than like me, and I'm blessed to be where I am, and it's just like I only want to get better. And it's like just like maybe if I'm in a bad mood for a while, but it's just like eventually I'm just like I'll get out of it, because I'm just like I'm only the one who can like get myself to go up. Like I can't just sit around.
It's like the idea of just like keep moving, keep doing something. What if you were like describe like what physical thing, like, is there something that you do? Like I know for a lot of people it'll be as simple as like, oh, like I'll take a shower, or like, oh, I'll go on a walk. Like for me, a lot of the time it's like a part of the reason that I like winter sometimes sucks is because it's usually like I can just go like walk outside for a half hour and I'll feel great if it's nice out. But it kind of sucks in the winter because it's awful. But like is there any like actual like actionable things that you do?
I feel like fresh air or like playing sports is definitely like the best. Like, 'cause I feel like anytime, like, especially if it's like a nice day out, like that just makes you feel so much better. Like when you feel the fresh air and you're just like walking around outside, you're like, oh, everything's like okay. It's like, I feel like that's definitely best. And then, yeah.
I like that. My next one. So why don't you drink alcohol, and how are you seemingly immune to the pressure around it? Because there's a lot of pressure around it.
Yeah, I just feel like, honestly, I've never really been interested in it. Like, that's the thing. It's like, people always ask me, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I just never, like, I'm not interested. Like, I never felt interested. Like, I always felt like like growing up, like obviously when you're younger, it's like people like obviously in high school like start drinking alcohol and stuff, but I never really felt interested. I'm like, it's illegal. Like I'm not allowed to, so I wouldn't have it. But I still like, even like after I turned 21, like I still had no interest in trying alcohol. I'm just like, I get why, like I don't judge anyone for having it, but I'm just like, for me, I'm just not interested. Like I feel like it only like is like, it's more of a negative than anything, like because of the things you can do under the influence, and it's just like it is also like health wise like not the best. So it's like I feel like I'm not really interested in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd rather eat some food.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely, yeah, I mean, it's like after drinking, you don't feel great. It's definitely, well, like it's kind of like like in the moment, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like a fine line that you're teetering. Like if you drink too much, it gets really bad. But then also the morning after is like the worst feeling ever. Definitely a part of it. But do you think at any point you will?
I'm not sure, honestly. Like it's like I'm not like necessarily like saying no, but it's just like at this point I just don't really have interest, and I feel like I also hear so many stories like, especially like obviously our dad, like he hasn't drank alcohol in a very long time, but
Yeah, like 30 years or
yeah,
something
like
long.
which is awesome, and like I feel like I hear so many stories of people like, yep, I'm cutting off alcohol, like I'm like stopping, and it's like I'm like, why would there be like necessarily like a reason for me to join them? Like if like a lot of people are like stopping, and it's like I feel like in my head I'm just like I just I think it's as simple as like I'm just not interested in
Yeah.
it.
And I think also the fact that you got like were able to like go to visit your friends at school and
Mhm.
made it through like just like all the I feel like this is like that like around age 21 area
Mhm.
is where like the peak of most people's drinking, and the fact that you
Yeah.
were fine and never did at that point is like kind of like, I mean, shows that you're able to be immune to the pressure. And like now at this point, you're kind of just like, you don't need it. And you just
Yeah.
like, it's like a part of it's never been a part of your life. So it's not really,
Yeah.
doesn't really pique your interest.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of funny just seeing like people like when they're like my friends like when they were like drunk and stuff. It would just be funny just like seeing like their funny faces or
Mm-hmm.
like the stuff they'd say, and then they'd be like, "Oh, let's order some midnight Tipido, which is the calzone place." I'm
And
like,
you'd be
"I'm
all,
in,"
yeah, you're
because
all in
I
for
love
that.
love the food part.
Or a lot of the time they'll end up having like one bite anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Um, yeah, I think it's definitely like an admirable trait of yours that you are seemingly immune to like pressure in those social situations, which I'm sure you've probably dealt with people being really annoying about stuff like that.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I mean it's interesting to hear, and I think it's also like pretty uncommon, so which is also just makes it pretty interesting. Um, then my next category is kind of just like big picture. This is a huge like question, but like what's your dream if you were like encapsulating it into like a few sentences? Like what do you what are you working towards, and like what do you want to achieve?
I feel like the dream would be to just not have to worry about money like ever. Like, and I feel like have like like my family like not worry about money ever. So I feel like that would definitely be the dream, and like something like that helped me get there, or if just creating like more things like on my own. Like I kind of like creating different things, but I definitely think that would be it.
Mm-hmm. And what if I'm trying to think. So if you never had to like ever work again or worry about money again, what would you do?
I would definitely like to, just obviously keep traveling around. I would have a crazy sports card and sneaker collection that
Yep.
would keep me busy. Um, and I would do things like job things like for fun. Like I'd go to like card shows all the time, like flip cards still probably like do that type of thing, and then yeah, just chill with the fam, the friends, like hopefully like go on fun trips with them
Mm-hmm.
all, and Yeah, it would be fun.
Do you think there'd be any like hobby that you would pick up? Like I've phrased this question before to people. It's like, let's say now in your current life you never had to sleep again, and you suddenly had like 8 hours every night where no one else was awake, and you just were like kind of you had to be working towards doing something or like learning a new skill. What would that be?
If it was something new, I was gonna say like it would be probably playing more sports. Like if it wasn't, but it would probably be like that's a tough one. But I'd probably like get more into like more video like editing like stuff or like it would be cool to take like pictures. Like I feel like that would be cool. Like something in like that realm, like creating content like more. I feel like
So
that's
middle
fun.
of the night you're gonna be sneaking outside and taking pictures. That's what I just heard, I think.
Right through your window.
Yep. All right. That's what I figured. Yep. What is all right, next one. What is your favorite thing about yourself?
My favorite thing about myself. I feel like my my like moral compass. I feel like that feel like I know like what's right, even though like people might like, even if it's as simple as like arguing for like I was getting to arguments with my friends, obviously like sports and stuff, like we always argue and stuff. So if it's like I feel like they're not being fair about like an athlete, even if it's something as simple as that, or but like obviously for bigger things, like I feel like my moral compass.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I think that definitely makes sense. I think you are a good like judge and good at being fair. So I think alternate career being a judge that could happen. Might have to go to college for that though, unfortunately.
I can judge you right now.
Okay. All right. What is the most outlandish goal that you have currently?
Most outlandish goal. To be a head coach of a football team.
I like this. I'm a fan of that. That's a great
That'd be
answer.
pretty cool.
Are you pursuing this? Actually, I guess the fantasy football resume.
Yeah, we're getting that done first. Like getting some championships
you got to
rolled out first.
I like that.
But yeah, not really pursuing that, but I feel like something in like a football organization like one day like would be like my most outlandish goal, cuz I'm like I could resell forever. I could decide like one day I'm like I want to try this.
Yeah. You do also think that's a part of that's interesting is that you have like flexibility. You could kind of just do whatever you want. Like you have like enough of a cushion that you could decide to do this, and you could have a change of heart, and like you could literally, if you decided to, go to college now and just like start a career. Like it could be very like it's nice that I feel like you have like a lot of your stuff is like very liquid, and you could do whatever you want, which is cool. I think that would be fun to see you as a football coach one day in the NFL. I could see this. I could see you being like I don't know. I saw this story. It was like, like the Football Manager, like the soccer simulation thing. It was like a guy who was really good at that ended up getting hired by a team.
Yeah.
Like just because he was that ridiculous at it. Yeah. I could see it being something like that where like you're getting hired as like a consultant by a team and providing some insight that they're like, how do you know this?
Yeah.
And you would just know that.
I feel like, like that, or like GM, like doing like the drafting and stuff. I feel like that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be an outlandish goal, but
but you never know.
We'll see one day.
Well, I don't know if maybe this question will answer that. But if you could have one wish at this exact moment, what would it be? Anything.
I wish for $90 billion.
I like this. That's
Or trillion, actually.
Okay. And what if it couldn't be money?
Okay, if it couldn't be money?
Because I feel like, I would answer the same thing. I'd go $99 trillion to have a little bit more than you.
I'd go 999 then.
Well, then we're going to be in a good spot. We got the money.
We're chilling. I feel like if I was like saying, if I could, what was it? It was one.
If you could have one wish at this exact moment.
I feel like it would be that like I feel like I worry about like my friends and family so much. I feel like if I could wish that they were all protected, like for like a set amount of years, like or
So
however
you
many.
decide when those years end. If someone's on bad behavior.
Well, no, or like protected from outside. I'll say outside because that's more realistic. Like outside things from hurting them,
So yeah,
like random things.
Like basically, because that would also alleviate a lot of your own probably stress, and you would
Yeah,
never have to worry about anything. So that's a good
Yeah.
answer, and that's a very kind answer.
I also got one more answer. That would be if it couldn't be anything like that, it'd have like a 100-inch vertical.
That's also could work. NBA bound.
Hey, dunk on Kawhi.
I could see that. I mean, I don't know what a normal vertical is, but that sounds like a lot.
That would be like.
Does anyone have a
that'd be
100-inch
Spider-
vertical?
No.
Alright. So you'll be the first. What stresses you out most about the future?
I feel like what stresses me out. I feel like it's uncertainty of like I don't know what the world's gonna look like, and it's like I don't know necessarily what's gonna happen. So I feel like that's definitely like scary. It's like we don't know like what the future holds for us, like with how much pollution like is every day, like for our future generations. It's like I feel like that's definitely worrisome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like, basically, just like things that are out of our control can
Definitely.
be stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This next category. So I'm sure you know those blind rankings things, those blind
Yeah.
rankings videos. So I have some for you. I'll explain the concept just for people listening. Basically, I will be naming like some things one at a time. The first category is food. So basically, I'll be naming things one at a time, and then Robby will have to rank them between 1 and 5 without knowing what's next.
Oh boy.
So, and you know how to play this, right? And all right. So we're starting with food. The first one that I'm giving you is mac and cheese.
Okay. And one's the
One
best.
is the best.
I'm gonna put at 2.
Okay. All right. Next is wings.
I'll put that at 3.
Oh, interesting.
Oh boy.
Next is pizza.
Pizza at 1.
All right.
Oh no.
Next is a cookie skillet.
Oh, cookie skillet. I love cookie skillet.
Wait. We need to recap what we have. So you have mac and cheese at 2.
Yeah.
Pizza at 1, mac and cheese at 2, wings at
3, I think.
Okay.
I said.
So you have just 4 and 5
Man.
left.
I mean, if it's something better than cookie skillet, I'll put cookie skillet at 5, even though I love them.
I'm glad you did that because the last one is chicken parm.
Oh, chicken parm, man, that would be higher, but I guess that has to go at 4.
And then if you were, I've seen people do this too. If you could switch any of the two out, like with each other, you can switch one with each other.
I'd switch wings and chicken parm.
All right. I like that. You passed.
Thank you.
Your next blind ranking is GOAT athletes.
Oh,
right.
okay.
First one, Ronaldo.
I'll put him at 4.
Okay. Next, LeBron.
1.
All right. Brady.
Man, I know who's missing, so I'm gonna have to put him at 3.
Wait, so what do you have so far? You have Ronaldo at, did you say 4?
Yeah, 4.
Ronaldo at 4, LeBron at
1.
1, Brady at,
3.
all right, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. I guess I have to put him at 5. Sorry, MJ.
And then last is Messi.
Messi at 2.
All right.
And
Are you
also,
Are you satisfied with that?
I mean, there's also some bias there because not a big Brady fan. Like he is probably the goat, one of the goats among goats, like the one of the most like decisive goats.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my selection.
Yes.
So, of favorite goats.
All right. And I'm not giving you the opportunity to switch anything, so
No.
that's your final lock-in.
Yeah.
All right. Next is video games. First one is Madden. As a whole, it doesn't have to be like one Madden
Franchise?
game, but all Madden.
I like Madden, but it's pretty disappointing, so I'm putting them at 5.
Wow. That's not what I was expecting. Next is Minecraft.
Minecraft is a staple. I'll put them at 3.
All right. Next is Fortnite.
Fortnite, I'll put it at 4.
Oh,
It's fun to play with the boys, but it's like
I think this is I think you're gonna like this list. All right. Next is Pokemon.
Pokemon. I mean, I love that so much growing up. I'll put it at 2.
All right. Then I think this might be the best list that you've ever made because the last one is Halo Reach.
Oh, Halo Reach is at 1. Definitely
was
my favorite.
I think you mastered that. I tried
think
to
I
throw
did.
you off with the Madden, but you just dumped on
Madden, they've done a terrible job. It's basically a roster update each year. Like, it's fun, but it's like
Yeah.
it could be way better.
It's like when they make a new Call of Duty, at least it's slightly different.
Yeah.
Like Madden is literally
It's like the
exact
new
same game.
iPhones.
All right. My next one is basic shoes.
Oh, okay.
All right. First is the Air Force One.
I'll put it at 5.
Ooh. Wow. All right. Panda Dunks.
I'll put it at 4.
Ooh. The Adidas Samba.
Put it at 3.
Wow. Is this your new strategy? The New Balance 990
Put that at 2.
and the New Balance 550.
Put that at 1, I guess.
Are you satisfied with that?
I'd probably switch 1 and 2.
All right. So
And
you
also-
still ended up doing pretty well.
Not
I think
really.
I'm not very good at this then, in giving you the right order. So I was trying to make this difficult. But you have done a lot. I guess the food was a little bit more
Yeah,
challenging.
that one was tough.
All right. Then my last one is sports.
Oh, okay.
All right. First is golf.
5.
All right. Next is basketball.
I'll put it at 2.
Next is pickleball.
Put it at 4.
So what's left? You have you gave
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Yeah.
All right. Next is football,
1.
and then there's volleyball.
I guess 3.
I think you did good on that one again.
Hey.
I thought I was gonna get you. I should have.
I was waiting for soccer.
I should have switched out football with like curling, and then really.
Yeah, then I would have been. That would have been tough. Then
I gotta get
Man.
better at this.
I
Next
would-
time I do this.
don't worry, I'll help you out.
All right. The food one was definitely the best one. All right.
That one was.
My last category is questions from other people. So
Oh,
I reached out to some special select individuals and had them each give me like 1 or 2 questions. And you can answer these quickly if you want, but what part of your life do you most enjoy?
the part of my life that I most enjoy. I feel like that I get to do like whatever I want, like with like my job. Like I can kind of just have the freedom to do whatever. Like I can visit you on a random like Tuesday. I can go drive down to Pennsylvania if I wanted to, looking for shoes on a random Wednesday.
You could go to North Korea any day.
I could
You have
be
total
boys with
freedom.
Kim.
Yep. All right, I like that answer. What's something that you wish more people knew about you?
What I wish more people knew about me. I feel like more people, I wish they knew like that once I get to know you, like I talk a lot more than like I'm usually kind of shy at first, but
Mhm.
once you get to know me, like I end up talking a lot, I feel
Yeah,
like.
you become a chill guy. And especially I think when people see you eat, it's like a bonding thing because it's
Mhm.
like either they run or they're like, this is awesome.
Or they come closer to the
Yes.
fire.
Yep. What's your favorite shoe and card in your collection and why?
My favorite shoe in my collection, that would have to be I think my Jordan 1 Turbo Greens, because that is a shoe that I was like, this shoe is so cool that like it's just a beautiful colorway. Like it's not like classic historical or anything, but it's like just a regular, it's a colorway of the Jordan 1 that I find it's one of like my favorite colors. Besides like I'm a big green guy, but it's like this turbo like aqua color almost. So I'd say that, And my favorite sports card would be, I think, my Diego Forlan Prism Gold out of 10. The reason I collect Diego Forlan a lot is the 2010 World Cup. Like, obviously, like we support Team USA, but I'm like, we didn't have like a second country like that we were like heritage of that were like felt like close to that.
Well, also none of them qualify.
Yeah,
ever.
exactly.
The nationalities that we are.
Yeah, they're not the best at soccer, but I ended up before the tournament. I just randomly picked Uruguay, and then I'm like, all right, they'll be my second team I support. And then Diego Forlan just like he ended up winning the best player of the tournament award, the golden ball, and it was just truly amazing. And I remember that was like right when I was growing up, and I'm like, now that I got back into sports card collecting a couple years ago, I gotta collect this guy, and I ended up getting that card for a pretty good price already, and then I graded it. And I ended up getting PSA is the main grading company, and I ended up getting a PSA 10, which is very tough to do on like a card. It's from 2014 Prism World Cup, which is the first year of the Prism World Cup set, and it's like the cards in it are very rare because there's not that many boxes of them, and this is a gold numbered out of 10. So that card is truly special because it's the only PSA 10 in existence. So,
Wow. That's
at least
cool.
currently.
It's cool that it has a story behind it too. Which national park was your favorite and why? I think you said this already, but if you wanna,
it's tough. Like I go back and forth, but it's like I feel like it's close between Sand Dunes and Bryce Canyon, and it's like there's also so like I could say so many. Like this could change like next like the Yellowstone is amazing, but I'd say Sand Dunes because it's just like it was. I randomly had like I just always wanted to see like sand dunes. Like I always wanted to see like a desert with sand dunes, and it's like it's literally what it is. Like you're in the middle of Colorado, surrounded by mountains, and it's just like a bunch of sand dunes. It's just kind of sick to me. But Bryce Canyon was probably also like just because of how like cool it was with all the pillars.
I liked it. My next one is, what's your Grail shoe and Grail card? You have no budget, but you can't ever resell it.
Oh, that's a good one. I feel like my Grail card would be from that 2014 Prism. There's a black 1 of 1 that I feel like that would be because there's only one in existence, and that Diego Forlan would be so cool to have in that version. My Grail shoe would probably be. Oh, it probably would be. There's this Kobe 11 PE that is like made for the All-Star game. I don't remember who
And
wore
PE
it.
is player
Edition,
right?
yeah. So it's like you're not gonna get it unless you're a player or like a player sells it or somehow you get lucky enough it ends up at like a surplus sale at some point. But I'd say probably that just because it's like a shoe that will never get accessed really.
And then, I didn't even have this one written down, but I just thought it's like, if you only had to wear one shoe, like if you could only wear this shoe for the rest of your life, what would it be?
That's a tough. I'd probably like choose just like a regular like basic like running shoe. Like I feel like I'd choose like those Hokas because I feel like it's just for comfort wise. Like because there a lot of the shoes that I love that are like look so cool, they're not that comfortable at the end of the day. It's like after like 8 hours of wearing them, you're like my foot hurts. But like the Hokas are like they're so comfortable, so it's like I'd probably choose those.
I like that. Yeah, that's definitely a good answer. And just go for like a neutral color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could probably ball up in those.
Yeah. All right. Next, 5 people, dead or alive, that you can bring to dinner. Only 2 can be a sports figure.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. Well, so I will start with LeBron James.
Glorious King.
My glorious king.
Yep.
Because I feel like he'd be a very social guy too, like a fun guy to be around. Next up, I will go non-sport. I will go Jeremy Wade from River Monsters, one of my absolute favorite shows ever. He seems like he'd have some crazy stories to tell, and he has the British accent, so he always sounds like a very smart guy, and definitely like he's one of my favorite people ever. Like I'm a big Jeremy Wade guy.
So that's two.
That's two. Another one, I feel like it would be cool. I just thought of. I'm like, because my friend Doug, he actually found this Steve Irwin card at a show recently. I would say Steve Irwin because I feel like he has so many cool adventures, and I remember like we grew up watching that show, and like we loved Steve. So I definitely say him, and then going back to a sports figure, I feel like Eli Manning would be like a cool one. Just like like Eli just seems like a chill guy. It's like he's chill like that.
I know who would be a bad answer, Messi.
Yeah, because
we love Messi.
We love him. He doesn't speak English.
Also, even if he did, he's not very social.
Not a conversation.
He would be silent the whole dinner.
Exactly.
He would be listening. Maybe
I love
not,
Messi,
actually.
but
he would just be sitting there like staring at the wall.
Yeah, like if it was people to take a picture with, he's definitely.
Yeah.
But and then my fifth person, I feel like I got to go back in time, back in history for a fifth person. I feel like Honest Abe would be a cool guy to bring to the table.
Like
he
this.
also would be not racist.
That's
So,
true. That's a good.
You
when
can't,
you're going back in history,
you
gotta be careful. Like
you do.
you can't go like George Washington because he owned slaves. So it's like, I don't think he would be. Yeah. Could be an interesting one. I like that. That's an interesting choice.
Cool table.
I like it. That was a solid. That would be an interesting meal.
Yeah,
for sure.
But who would your five be?
I was just thinking of this. I would say, I would go Steve Jobs would be one. I just think he's awesome and he's a super interesting guy. Two, I would go Jesus Christ himself.
Oh, that's a good one.
Think he would also have fantastic things to say. Then I would go for the comedy, Theo Von. I think just him having a conversation with Jesus Christ would be the greatest thing I could ever experience. That's three. David Goggins would be an awesome one. And then last one, I don't even know. I'm trying to think like sports figure. Actually, you know what? Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, okay,
Also
okay.
not racist.
Hey.
Didn't own slaves. Was also black. So, great guy. I think he would be a good one.
That's a good list.
That's my table.
And I think the next question for that is, what would they be serving at this table?
Well, if I really want to like shock Jesus, we're just going like McDonald's or something. I want him to be in awe at McDonald's. But if we're going for like taste, I would just go like, give me some like Shake Shack, give me some like chips and guac.
Okay.
And that's all I need.
Yeah, I was gonna say
and Cool Ranch Doritos and Sour Patch Kids. We're going crazy.
I like it. I'd say we're having pizza and chicken parm for dessert. Cookie skillets all around.
Oh yeah, that's good. All right, we are wrapping up. Almost done. My next one is, what's the worst state you've been to?
The worst state I've been to has to be Nebraska.
I knew you were gonna say that. I just remembered that you said this.
Oh wait, can I change it?
Sure.
I'd say Nebraska and Ohio.
Okay, why?
Because they're both, Ohio just seems so depressing and boring. Like, I mean, we've only driven through certain parts, so, obviously there's probably better parts, but the highway parts and, like, the stops we've been, it just looks so bland. Like, it looks flat. But Nebraska might be its worst because it's just all, like, flat, no vegetation, just all, like, farms pretty much, and you see forever. And it's, like, it's got to be the most boring state to drive through, and also we had, like, each time we've driven through there's been severe thunderstorms on the way back from our road trips. So that hasn't been great. So, you get severe thunderstorms there and boringness, it seems.
Yeah, not a great combo.
Yeah. But hey, if anyone is out there listening and they want to fly us out to Nebraska or Ohio and show us like what cool things they got.
I agree. I haven't been, so I don't have an opinion on it. Then what alternative career would you pick if time and money were no object? I feel like you kind of answered this, but
Yeah, I feel like something in the football industry, like with working like to either be an organization as like a GM or like a coach. I feel like that would be like the dream one.
I like it. And then my final question is, what's a goal that you have for 2025? Seeing as this is the first episode of 2025 and it is January 1st, so feels very appropriate.
I'd say a goal. I'll give an athletic one, and then I'll give like a regular one. I'll say athletically, I'd like to get back to dunking, like I had mentioned
Mhm.
earlier. So it's been a while. I want to get back in the lab.
Mhm.
Um, and then I'd say otherwise, like I feel like for 2025, like I'd just like to just. I don't know if there's something specific, but I feel like just keep building on like what I've been doing and maybe expand into like another like revenue source somehow, or like have another creative thing to get into, like,
Mhm.
and expand probably like I'd like to, because I like to do the nature videos that I've done, so I'd love to do that more, I'd say.
I like it. Well, that's all the questions I had. I don't know if you have any things that you want to ask me, but we're at. Do you know how long we've been going for?
How long?
Take a guess.
2 hours and 28 minutes.
An hour 55 only. So
Oh.
if you have anything,
What should I ask the host?
and we'll make it our goal. We got to get this to 2 hours.
That
this
is
can
true.
This can be a milestone.
Okay. I'd say I mean, obviously I know like some of your goals for this new year, but what is like your number one goal, you'd say?
I would say, my biggest would be, probably like just like big picture, like just like overarching, like financial, like figuring out my finances, because like just with graduating and like having loans and having a job, like I'd say like figuring out like finances and just like getting my loan repayment strategy down and like securing a job. So I'm gonna put that all under one umbrella. But also literally next to you, I have my goals for the
Yeah,
year.
I know. I remember the list is
Um,
there, but I didn't know
So
which
yeah,
one
I
was
mean,
number one.
I don't even know if I did it. I don't think I talked about it yet, but what I have written down is secure a job, don't make impulse purchases, and budget, loan repayment plan, 50-mile ultramarathon / 2,000 miles total, 20 podcast episodes, eat healthier, and reduce screen time. So that's what I have written. Um, I mean, I can give a little bit on each. I mean, like the job one and like the impulse thing and the loan repayment are kind of all under that financial umbrella. The race, I just started training on Monday. Hopefully I stay healthy. It's the only thing that can stop me is injury right now. So it'll be a 50-mile race, and I'm planning on running in the beginning of May. And the 2,000-mile thing I have as like an extra, because I believe that's basically 40 miles a week for the entire year, so that's a lot. I don't know if that'll be it. I think I ran around like 1,600 this year, so it's definitely possible. And I ran 1,600 this year with having like 5 weeks of injury, so I think it's possible, but we'll see. But more so the 50-mile ultra, and then 20 podcast episodes. I think if I was doing another year of school, I could do more because I have way more time at school. But I think when I start actually working, I'll lose a lot of my free time and won't be able to do this as much. So that'll definitely be a goal, and I want to do more interviews. This will be the first like official. Well, I mean, I interviewed Lena, but that was like a virtual one. So this is like the first in person one. I want to interview people that are like outside of like family and friends. Like I want to like interview like a couple like professors potentially, and just expand that because it's something that I enjoy doing and I like it. Then eating healthier, I definitely I did better with this year. It was like one of my goals for 2024, and I've definitely did better. Like I've just been like, even just like I used to not like never eat fruits and vegetables really. So just eating more fruits and vegetables is always good. And then reducing screen time is also like always good. and not using like my phone as like a digital pacifier.
Yeah.
Like not just like, because it's kind of just like we always just like when we have 1 minute of downtime, just like I started practicing just like sometimes when I go into class, just like not going on my phone when there's like that 2 minute before class, I'm just sit there and just like be at peace for a minute.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely something like I'd like to work on too, because it's like it's so tough. Like it's like they make the phones so addicting.
Yeah, and
It's
also
like-
your job revolves
Yeah,
around using your phone.
using my phone. So that's the tough thing. But I feel like when I'm doing like something like this, like talking with you, like on just doing the podcast, like that's a good one. Like that, like you can stay focused. Or like when I'm playing sports, like I feel like able to focus off. And I did think of another question. So if you could design a video game, would it be mobile or on Xbox? And what would like be the main feature of that game? Let's say.
That's a interesting question. I would say like I would want some kind of like I haven't found the perfect game for myself that like I would want a game that was like either computer or Xbox that like pulls features from all my favorite games. Like I don't think I'd be very original. Like I would like do something similar to Clash of Clans, but make it. I mean, ideally, what would make the game more fun is like just like if more people I knew played. So like a kind of game that incorporates like stuff from like Clash of Clans where you have like your base building, but then stuff from like I would say like Destiny, weirdly, like where it has like those raids, like some kind of like thing where it's like you're all logging on together and doing this activity together. Like when me and my friends would do these like war attacks, like we would do a clan war and like on my birthday and we'd all stay over and we'd plan our war attacks and do that. Like I like that. I'd like it on like the scale of like combining it with like a World of Warcraft or Destiny where it's like everyone's logging on together and it's like, oh, we're bringing together our forces. Like I want it to be like a war game or something like that. That could be like basically kind of similar to Clash of Clans, but on a like a much bigger scale and more like longer play sessions. Because Clash of Clans is made for small play sessions. Like I'd want it to be like you could play it for 3 hours and you could like something like that. I would say my answer would be.
I like it.
That's and that's my idea, and we are now at 2 hours. So
wow.
I really didn't know how long this was gonna be. So this is cool. This is the longest episode. This beats my Clash of Clans episode.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this is it. This was the Robby interview, my first official in-person interview. I think it was a success. Hopefully all goes well with the uploading of everything. And yeah, do you have any parting words for everybody? Any inspirational words?
All I gotta say is, be you guys, be
nice.
you.
I like it.
Thank you for having me, Trevor.
Of course.
I'm sure we'll do this again at some point. And yeah.
And that's farewell. That's this was episode 11 of the Dead Soon podcast. And goodbye, America.
LeBron's the GOAT.